Yo, what's up buggers? So in this video today, we're going to go through all the lures and different types of lures you get. Trolling, jigging, casting, soft baits, top water, stick baits. But first, check out the intro. Alright, first up we've got on the agenda is the most common lure type is the trolling lures. Okay, you get three different types of trolling lures. You get lipped lures, which are the big ones with a gigantic lure like this. Okay, you get the uncommon ones in our waters, the lipless lures. Alright, these are the tremblers. And then you get the surface lures, otherwise known as squid skirts, that are yellowtail commercials used to catch, obviously, yellowtail. The reason why it's got the lip is so it dives down to a certain depth. So you get certain sizes of rapalas and sizes of lures. Obviously, the bigger the lip, the deeper it's going to dive. So this one here dives down to 6 meters. These would use a Cape point, hopefully to get yellowtail since they're deeper in the water column. And then these are the smaller lips, as you can see here. For shallower waters, you can even use this in estuaries as well. And with these tinier ones, you can basically pick up almost any fish species from garrick, alf, to cob, even going trolling around the strand reefs as well, and even yellowtail at times when they're a little bit higher up in the water column. Now, the other type of trolling lure that you get is a lipless lure. It's not as common that we use here, but in Durban, they use it more on the boats. But for kayak fishing, these tiny little tremblers are great. There is no lip, as you can see, so there's very little resistance. There's like a bullet going through the water. So with these lures, the slower you troll, the deeper it's going to dive down with that weight. Right? With these ones, I've only caught bonito on these or katunkel, but yeah, generally you're going to use these when you're trolling from point A to point B as quick as possible with the least amount of resistance in the water. And lastly, the most common for the boating guys and for our commercials trolling lure that they use, it's called the squid skirt or a surface lure as they call it. It gets packaged like this. And basically these lures, you put a little ball sinker in here, you rig it up with beads, and it's got a double hook. And this one here is also very light resistance. There is no lip. Nothing's going to dig in the water. So this is basically just plopping along on the surface, going under and on top as you're going through the swell as well, depending on your speed. Obviously with us kayakers, we can't have heavy weights in it. So sometimes we get these plastic ones here without weights. These ones are good. You can troll them anywhere from, well, with us on the kayaks, we go with kilometers. So anywhere from about 4.5 kilometers to 6 kilometers an hour. And these things work superb. They just create commotion on the surface, which generally draws up fish as well. So with these squid lures, basically we're looking for katunkel and yellowtail. For some reason, the squid skirts always draw up yellowtail from the depths, and they always just smash them on the surface, and you'll always see the commercials. That's the first lures that they put out when they're going for yellowtail. Alright buggers, so the second type of lures that we get is casting lures, otherwise known as spinning lures. These are lures that it's either generally metal or plastic epoxy jigs that we're casting out into shoals that are busting up on the surface, or if you're just casting around where you know where there's fish generally. Alright, so the most common that we usually get is these little anchovy tin spinners or chrome spinners. These ones are like pretty productive in the sun. When it's nice and shiny, we can get any species basically. I've caught alf, I've caught katunkel, I've far-looked garrick, yellowtail as well. They love these little anchovy sprat spinners. The other ones that we have, Sid, they call them Sid sprats, also casting lures. These ones, it's basically just epoxy jig as well with just lead inside of it, and just got a little flash. This one you're going to cast out and you're going to retrieve as fast back as you can, and it's just going to skip along the surface. Alright, and then one of my all-time favorites is the Fishman Attack Sprat. These ones, they come in a various amount of different sizes and, different colors. And with these ones, this is the anchovy color that I like, a pilchard anchovy color. This one's great. You can retrieve it back slowly or very fast. If you retrieve it fast, it's going to skip on the surface. If you retrieve it slowly, it gives a nice slow wag, and you can actually basically feel it on the rod tip. The species you're going to try and get with these is obviously katunkel and mainly yellowtail, because this is perfect, and the yellowtail want to chase that little bait fish, and that's what they love as a pelagic. Alright, then you get the anchovy sprats, which are tiny ones as well. These are more suited as well for when the fish get real finicky too. And then as well, this is a tungsten. This is like also a little metal jig. These ones, they throw like a dime straight through the wind as well. So if the tail are busting on the surface and they're very skittish, which happens a lot, you can throw these lures out, and these ones, they're going to cast a mile and you'll get there without spooking the fish. Small bait profile, and these things kick hard through the water, so they're going to get the attention of some really awesome yellowtail, especially when they're finicky. Alright, so yeah, yellowtail and katunkel, that's mainly what we're going to get with these. Then we move over to the estuaries where you're more going to target shad and garrick. So this is where the little sting ones come through. Tiny little spinners, look at that, tiny. These ones are perfect. It's almost like micro jigging as they call it. You can even get the tiniest spinners here, tiny little spoons, and these are perfect for ALF. Right, exact same thing, casting it out, and there's no set speed for these lures. You got to experiment. That's why it's so exciting using these casting lures. And then also there is now another type of casting lure that we have. Those ones there, it's subsurface and also on the surface as well, depending on your speed. But now what we're going to do is surface casting lures, otherwise known as plugs. That are these ones here, made out of epoxy with a sinker on the inside as well, some lead on the inside. These ones we're mainly going to use for yellowtail. You cast these out and you retrieve them as well, and they're basically plopping on the surface looking like an escaping bait fish. And that always entices a bite from a yellowtail. These plugs are made from a local guy in PE, a local sapphire angler. He's got a lot of experience also catching yellowtail as well. So all of that experience he puts into these lures, and you're definitely going to get a yellowtail bite from these lures as well, which is amazing. There's the Havoc Fat Boy Slim plugs. These ones are bloody brilliant. Very enticing action on them as well. You do get the smaller size as well for garrick. This is the 1 ounce, and this is what I can use now for the estuary and off a kayak as well, casting without having my arms getting tired the whole day. How are you going to use these? You basically cast them out. You don't wait for it to sink. As soon as it hits the water, you close your bail arm and you start retrieving back, lifting that rod tip up every now and then. I like to do it like that, where I just flick up once and I just retrieve. What that usually does is it lets it flick. Then the plug's going to splash on the water and it's going to sit there for like literally a split second, and sometimes that gets the bite from the yellowtail. Alright, the next other surface lure that we get is poppers and stick baits. Poppers are more generally, they're more used in Durban, especially the bigger ones like this. This is from Socks. I'm pretty sure everyone's heard of him now. He's renowned for making his crazy poppers, different styles, however you want it. He's going to make it for you like that, and it's crazy insane. For here in Cape Town, unless you're going for tuna, there's no other reason that we can use these, because katunkel, yellowtail, as soon as you get that first plop, it's going to scare them away. Always using trebles, unless you're going for GT. Some guys do it in the Maldives and the Seychelles and that. Then yeah, then it's crazy. But what we can use is the tinier poppers. These ones we can use in the estuaries as well. So also again for garrick, sometimes for grunter, depending on how you use it. So with these lures, these generally float, so you can cast them out. It's going to sit on top of the water, and you can either just retrieve, either pop, and it's going to make little splashes, get the attention of either cob, grunter or garrick around the area. And other one that I like to do on the kayak is I just cast it out and I just wind it back, and it's going to leave a nice smoke trail as well. It's got a good action to it as well. All right, and then we get to the stick baits. This is one of the crazy ones because it's one of the most versatile lures that you can use as well. All right, so these ones here, these stick baits, these are sinking stick baits. So these have got a nice wobble when you stop retrieving. It's going to wobble like that going down in the water column. All right, these are made from Richard from Roman Rock Lure Company, which you guys have seen the video as well of him making the other stick bait, which I'll show you now. This is the 90 SNK, and this one here, depending on how you rig it, what size hooks you have, you can troll these slowly, or you can cast these out and you can whip it back. You can get a walk the dog action from it as well. And these are, I think it was 30 grams. So this is it's a good weight for you to cast out as well. So you're going to cast these out. You can either give a slow retrieve back and it's going to work its way back nicely, or you can pop almost like a popper as well. And with these ones, you can catch generally katunkel, yellowtail. He's caught grunt on it as well. And also, depending how finicky you are with the lighter tackle, you can catch cob as well on these. And then we get to one crazy stick bait, the floating stick bait that has been custom made from Richard, which is really awesome. This one is one of my favorites, and I'm too scared sometimes to use it. But Now with the Vitsan comp coming up, I'm going to be throwing this at any busting bait balls as well. Rigged with single hooks, everything is custom made. So Richard, every single thing on the lure, obviously besides the hooks, it's all handcrafted. The scales he's etched in, obviously everything else here he's cut out and put on himself. So how you're going to use this lure, you're going to cast this out, it's going to sit in the water column like that. It's going to have the slack line. You just retrieve the slack line till it goes taut, till it goes tight. Once that happens, you're going to pull your rod tip back, which is going to pull the nose of the lure down into the water, and then you just give a constant retrieve. So once that nose digs down, it's going to give that little vipping action under the water, just subsurface. You can then stop, the lure will then float back up and it'll sit like this. Perfect if any predator or pelagic fish is going to come from the bottom and grab it, you're definitely going to nail the sucker. So we've done casting lures or spinning lures, okay, subsurface as well. We've done the plugs, which is more the surface lures. And now what we're going to do, we're going to do the deeper lures, the jigs, okay. My all-time favorite ones that you guys have seen in the videos is slow pitch jigging. And you can catch a variety of species on them. I think it started out in Japan as a trend, and it's just taken the world phenomenon. It's just exploded worldwide. Right, you get tiny little metal jigs like this with a single assist hook or stinger hook. You can put more on, but generally I like it like here on top. So as soon as it hits the bottom, that hook isn't going to hook into kelp and you're not going to lose your pretty lures, okay? The way how you're going to use these lures, they sink nicely to the bottom, sometimes with a nice fluttering action. Or what you do is you reel up so you feel the line tight again. You lift your rod tip up and you give literally a quarter crank. Let your rod tip slowly sink down. And what that does, when you're pulling your rod tip up, it's going to make that lure basically almost spiral up. And then as you go slowly down, you will feel if a fish swallows your jig, because you'll feel the bite. And that is what's so amazing about slow pitch jigging. So this jig will flutter down, cool, and then you feel, okay, now it's stopped sinking. You lift up again, another quarter crank, until eventually you go up further into the water column. The types of fish you'll get with these, mainly is bottom dwelling species, reef fish, so your Hottentot, red Roman, go crazy for these as well. Jacopiva, you can try those ones. It's not really a targeted fish species, it's more in Table Bay, but my goal is to try and catch as many as I can on these in a single trip, just for fun. With slow pitch jigging, the deeper the water you're fishing in, the heavier the jig should be, because then obviously you get down to the bottom a lot quicker, especially if you're drifting, okay? These are the Mars jigs as well, also slow pitch jig. These ones are killer for yellowtail as well. So if you're going to strays by, make sure one of these is in your tackle box, because this one has got crazy action as well. So the exact same principle, all slow pitch jigs is the same. You can just vary it and just work it a little bit quicker. So maybe give it another half crank, all right? These bigger slow pitch jigs, I would say with Katunkel and yellowtail, maybe even snook as well, if you're there in Buffalo's Bay. If you're there in the snook grounds, they won't say no to this jig as well. All right, and then one that's really high action and is a very trending now for the guys in stillby with yellowtail is a vertical jig. It's a long, slender profile, and this one, the reason being is I'm going to go faster down into the deeper parts of the water column, and this one, it's not slow working up. This one, you're cranking. How they say is if your forearms and back isn't burning before you've hooked up, you haven't been jigging enough. So you drop it straight to the bottom and you give an aggressive flick up and a crank like that. Literally, you're working, you're sweating the whole time. So what that does is it gives a darting action to this jig. And a yellowtail kingfish, as we call it here, is not going to say no to that action. No matter if they're being fussy, they're not taking baits, spinners, lures, anything. You go and you drop a vertical jig, that's always going to entice that bite. So then we come to the finale here, is soft plastics. Now this is also quite versatile, but mainly used in our estuaries for cob, grunter as well, and garrick. It's pretty good for garrick as well. So what a soft plastic lure is, it's a soft body that is either rigged with a jig head, like you can see here. These are the Phantom Goby squids. These ones are crazy as well. They glow quite nicely, so if you're fishing at night time off estuaries or out at sea, these ones are perfect. If you're dropping at the deeper reefs, also perfect as well. You can either troll these, but I do recommend if you're going to troll these, Katunkel is probably going to troll the tails or the tentacles. I recommend if you're going to troll with the Phantom squids, all right, is you add a stinger hook to the tail end here, to the tentacles. Reason being, Katunkel, they like biting the back end of a lure, and they like cutting down the fish from swimming, so they'll bite it by its tail. So that way, if they're going to bite your tentacles, they're going to hook up on that lure there, and you're going to hook up to your fish. But generally, if you're fishing for cob, you won't need that stinger hook because a cob is going to engulf this whole lure. The way how you're going to fish these, almost the same as a slow pitch jig, but a little bit more versatile, a little bit more aggressive flick. You drop it straight down to the bottom, and now you can either just play with it like that on the spot, just lifting the lure up and down, and then you can give every now and then a hard flick, let it sink slowly. If you're fishing in shallower estuaries, I'd go with a lighter jig head so that it's got more time to sink through the water column. More time that it sinks, more time that the fish has got to bite the lure. Cob being very lazy feeders as well, they're not like yellowtail that are going to chase this lure all over. If the lure comes past them and they've got the time, they're going to slick that lure. So that's how we're going to use the phantom squids. Another one that I like for estuaries and also for bass fishing is the phantom gobies. As you can see here, the eyes have been knocked off this sucker. So it's a pretty good lure, rigged weedless, yeah. The way how you're going to fish this as well, you can cast it out. You can either retrieve it quickly back for just enticing that top water bite, but generally the best way is you cast it out, you let it sink to the bottom, you flick, let it sink again, retrieving a little bit of that slack, flick, flick, so it's just doing that darting action. Very lazy sort of retrieval. Because remember, cob are very slow and very lazy eaters. So with Kayak, they will chase it. So then with a Kayak, if you're fishing by river mouths, then you can retrieve it a little bit faster or in the surf. And then lastly, comes to a fluke or just normal soft plastic. There's different names for this, but I just call it a fluke. Or what you can do, there's two ways how you can rig it. You can get a big hook, the soft plastic bait hooks. You can hook it through like that. No sinker, you can cast it out, and that's just going to slowly sink through the water column. And that there, generally, how you're going to catch with these, what you're going to catch with these is cob. Other way is you can rig a jig head with it, and then you can basically jig off of reefs as well for cob, or if there's yellowtail, or hopefully maybe if there's a katonka holding by as well, then they're going to smash one of these lures. But with these soft plastics, most of the time it's going to be cob that you're going to catch, or with this white pearl color, Kayak as well in the surf. So buggers, thanks for watching the video. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys think of it. And if you guys have any recommendations of videos, or if you need any help with anything else and further videos for the future, let me know in the comments down below and we'll schedule that in the future. Just a special thanks to Luke, to Jacques, and Michael, to all you buggers out there that have asked about lure recommendations for you guys that are starting out. And for those of you buggers that are already using these lures, let me know down in the comments below which are your favorites. I promise you I'm not going to steal your secrets. I just want to know exactly which ones catch the fish. Thanks buggers. Okay, so I was going to say introduction. I just want to say thanks as well to Luke, to oh fuck, no, I forgot the ex name. And if you guys have any, oh, hold on, wait, sorted. Wait, should I fucking pop this thing in the beard? There you go.
Until next time.
Yeah.